All right, let's get into your stimulus news update for Monday, June 8th. On this episode, I'm going to spend my time showing you the things that are becoming more clear as far as when the stimulus bill is finally going to be voted on and passed by both the House and the Senate. So the timeline has become more clear. I want to share that information with you. And also, a lot of the line items that are going to be included in the next stimulus bill are also becoming more clear. What's going to be included and what's not. So I want to spend the bulk of my time doing that. First, let's talk about the timeline. When is the House and the Senate going to finally pass this thing? Because I know if you're like me, you're sitting back thinking, what are these people doing? I mean, how much time do they really need? They don't operate like normal individuals in a normal job. They have their little council meetings, and then they take up certain bill items at some times, and then they have holidays. And so it makes it very complicated to figure out when these people are going to actually vote on something important like the next stimulus bill. However, at this point, I can almost definitively tell you when that's going to happen. So taking a look at the chart here, the area that's becoming much more clear right now, I'm going to change to green, and you can see the House takes up the Senate bill. We know that between July 20th and July 30th is the most likely time period right now when both the House and the Senate will have voted on and passed the next stimulus bill. We know this because the House only has about 3 days in the beginning of July to take up the bill, but it's almost certainly not going to be able to at that point. It's going to be too early. The Senate will not have finished its job yet. And then they're going to have this holiday, this break, and they're going to come back on the 20th. However, there is a hard deadline coming up, which is when the $600 boost to unemployment is going to end on July 31st. So they have to do something before that boost ends. They cannot let that boost end and do nothing. So they're going to have a lot of pressure to get it done before July 31st. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of pressure. So much pressure that they will, in fact, get it done, in my opinion. So when they come back, July 20th to July 30th is finally when you can expect both the House and the Senate to have voted on and passed the next stimulus bill. I am glad to be able to report that to you today. If it doesn't happen in that time period, I will be stunned, and I will have less faith in our government, which is kind of hard to have because at this point, they're just, I don't know what they're doing. So anyway, that's the timeline news. It's much more clear now. Happy to report that to you guys. And so the next really important thing to talk about right now are what are the most likely stimulus line items that are going to be included in the next bill. These things are becoming more clear as well, specifically in reference to unemployment, back to work stimulus, employment stimulus that is most likely, money for the states, incentives for you to spend money, the payments for Americans, including SSA, veterans, SSDI, and SSI, and the reasons why those payments to Americans will most likely be made. So let's go ahead and first start off with unemployment. The boost to unemployment, which is right now a $600 a week boost, is set to run out on July 31st. It is almost certainly going to be extended at this point. That is becoming much more clear. However, the boost is likely to go down. So something around $300. They may phase it out month to month or lower it month to month, but they will certainly continue that past July 31st, just at a reduced rate. Next is the back to work stimulus. This became the big thing in Congress. So let's just end the unemployment thing altogether and then just give people $450 to go back to work. However, as I have already told you, this is far too complicated and it doesn't make enough sense. So people are going back to work, so we're going to pay them, but the people who are unemployed, we're going to end that. This is not going to work. It's already been reported that it's too complicated. It's becoming clear they're not going to do this. In addition, those jobs numbers that came out for May, and of course, they're good. The numbers are good. They're not as good as they were reported, but they're still very good. If they show you anything, it shows you that you don't need to give Americans stimulus payments to go back to work. We're Americans. We will do the right things by ourselves and by our family and by our community. We will go back to work. What we need to do is focus on supporting Americans that need help and helping to stimulate the economy. That needs to be the goal here. So this back to work stimulus is not going to happen. That's becoming more clear. But what are the employment stimuluses that are likely to happen? Right now, there are two of them. The first one is the payroll tax cut. This is the one that Donald Trump likes. And because he likes this and he's the president of the United States, this is very likely to be included. I personally don't think this is a good one. I think it's sort of a waste of money. The amount that you're going to get back in your paycheck is going to be so small, it's probably not going to be noticed by most. It's certainly not going to be used to stimulate the economy. You're not going to be like, oh, wow, I just got $50 more in my paycheck. I'm going to go spend money. That's not going to happen. So I don't like it. Plus, it sort of robs from Social Security right now, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So even though I'm not too into that one, it is supported by President Donald Trump and therefore becomes one of the most likely to be included for those going back to work. And then the second one is the heroes or hazard pay. So this is the next most likely. If you are employed at a job or have stayed employed at a job where you have put yourself at risk of contracting COVID-19, there's likely to be included in the bill some sort of benefit for those individuals. That's becoming more clear as well. Next is the money for the states. Now, in the HEROES Act, the House included $1 trillion that was slated to go to the states and help support those governments in different localities. However, the Senate really balked at that, especially the $1 trillion number. They didn't like it at all. They saw it as giving money to those budgets that had failed and were not fiscally responsible enough. However, with the ongoing protests, the ongoing quarantine, and all the difficulties associated, it is almost certain that they will include money for the state governments, not $1 trillion, but probably in the hundreds of billions of dollars. The next one is the incentive to spend money. So they want you, the American person, to spend your money. So it's likely that they will be including line items for you to do so. For example, they're going to give you tax credits if you go out to eat at a restaurant, or if you go on vacation, or you spend your time in a hotel, or do other entertainment items. And there might be an entire list of those things. And when you go to do your taxes next year, they might ask you if you did any of those things, because a tax credit is an awesome thing and will help you out significantly on your taxes next year. So it's likely they will include that. The big one is the money for Americans. So this is the one that's going to most Americans if you make under a certain amount of money, or if you're Social Security, SSDI. I believe that they will still include the $1,200 lump sum payment to the Americans. I think it makes sense. And here are the reasons why. Number one, millions upon millions of Americans are still in great financial trouble, and this is probably the easiest and best way to boost the majority of Americans out of this situation. And because of this, because people are going and they're not sure if they're going to be able to pay rent or their mortgage or get enough food for that week or for that month, it makes sense that they would include a $1,200 payment to Americans. And it's a relatively cheap item for what it actually does. Second, with jobs reopening, and jobs are reopening, it would be beneficial to give Americans more money to spend to support those businesses and to support full-time workers. If jobs are reopening, but Americans don't have a lot of money or a lot of liquidity or extra money around to spend, that's a problem. You're going to dam up the system, meaning it's ready to go, the water's there, it's ready to flow, but nobody's got the money to spend. Give the Americans $1,200 with jobs reopening and incentives to spend money like tax credits. What are Americans going to do? Wait a second. I got $1,200 or $2,400 or $3,600. I have an incentive to spend money, including a tax credit, and all these businesses are open. I'm going to spend money, which brings us to the fact that it's going to stimulate the economy in a great way. And the third reason why I think they're still going to do it is an election year. The stimulus would boost the economy, businesses, help Americans, ensure rent payments, and this is something anyone who is up for re-election is going to want to occur right now. If I was up for re-election, there is no way that I would not do this. If I wasn't up for re-election, there's no way I wouldn't do this. I would do this either way. But the fact that there are so many who are, including President Donald Trump, it only makes sense that they would do this. So I believe they will include that $1,200 payment. So I hope you guys found the information valuable. The timeline, remember, July 20th to July 30th is when it's finally going to happen. I'm putting it down for you right now. And then I also gave you the most likely items to be included in the next stimulus bill, including that $1,200 payment. If you enjoyed the information, consider subscribing to the channel. We will continue to keep you guys informed, especially as they get closer to finally passing this thing, and then keeping you informed about when you can receive that payment and if you have any difficulties getting it, like we did on the first stimulus payment. As always, I will catch you next time.